Are you struggling with Practice Early Childhood Education Mathematics Subtest 5025, Emergent Mathematics? Then this video is the video for you. My name is Tom, and I'm a test prep expert here at study.com, and I will walk you through some of the problems you may see on this test. This includes topics like counting, patterning, shapes, and basic measurement concepts. In this specific test prep video, I'm going to go over problems including the difference between cardinal and ordinal numbers, theoretical concepts when teaching children counting and prime factorization. Along the way, I will give you some test-taking strategies that will help you be successful on the test. So let's get started in checking out some practice questions. A third grade teacher instructs their students on the difference between ordinal numbers and cardinal numbers. The teacher asks all their students how many books the students have read in the past week. After compiling the data, the teacher ranks students from the highest number of books read in the class to the least. The numbers the teacher uses to denote the rank of each student against their peers are categorized as what type of numbers? Is it ordinal numbers, ordinal and cardinal numbers, cardinal numbers, or neither ordinal numbers nor cardinal numbers? All right, so in analyzing this question, we want to look at how the teacher wants to rank this. So they want to use a ranking system based on the highest number of books read in the class to the least. So we want highest to the least. So let's say that we had some data and we had one student that read 10 books, we had one student that read 8 books, we had one student that read 2, and another student that read 5 books. Well, the quantity of the books that were read, that would be represented as a cardinal number. So a cardinal number is going to represent quantity. Okay, so the 10, 8, 2, and 5 would be a cardinal number. But when we go to rank them on, who read the most books, so for example, the student that read 10 books would be ranked number 1. The student that read 8 books would be number 2. The student that read 5 books would be number 3, and so on. And then number 4 for the student that read 2 books. So when we rank them by order, that is considered a ordinal number. And you see kind of the word order in there. So the correct answer to this would be an ordinal number. There are many steps in teaching a child to count. What is it called when a child can recite numbers in the correct order? Okay, is it stable order, order irrelevance, one-to-one correspondence, or cardinality? The key to this is we're looking for being able to recite the numbers in correct order. So let's look at some of the choices here and eliminate some possibilities. So cardinality in this case would be understanding that there is a final sum or quantity to the numbers. Right. So for example, if you're adding up how many different objects that the student can see and getting a total for that. So I'm going to eliminate cardinality. One-to-one correspondence would be a student understanding that the number that they're counting silently in their head is equivalent to the number that they're seeing. So that is being able to make that connection, the one-to-one correspondence. So I'm going to eliminate that. So I see the word order in both of these answer choices. So which one would be the correct answer? Well, order irrelevance means that a student can count the objects in any specific order. It doesn't matter where they start. So that is not what we're looking for here. So in this case here, the correct answer is, if we want to be able to recite numbers in the correct order, would be stable order. Which of the following answer choices is an example of Piaget's conservation task in math with young children centered around numbers and sequence? So what are the levels of Piaget's conservation task? Well, we can use Piaget's conservation task with numbers, we can use it with volume, we can use it with length, we can use it with area. And the main concept of that is that if we present things in different ways to young children, will they still realize that it's the same value? So for example, if we have counters, maybe different shapes, and we put them in different groups, will the young children realize that if we have the same number of counters but presented differently in different groups, that it's the same amount? The same thing with volume and liquid. If we have the same volume of water put in different shaped cups, will students realize that it has the same volume? But the key to this problem here is we're talking about numbers and sequence, because it says it's centered around numbers and sequence. So I'm going to eliminate the choices that talk about length, talk about area, and talk about volume. So the correct answer would be, an example is asking a child to count the number of counters sequenced in different orders. So we see different orders and groups, and asking if the amounts are the same. So this is the correct answer. Which of the following represents 42 using prime factorization? All right, so when we're looking for prime factorization, we're going to break down the number into its prime factors. Well, any choice on here that doesn't have a prime number in there can be eliminated. So for example, I can see a 6 here. Well, 6 is a composite number. 3 times 2 is 6. So 6 is not prime, so I'm going to eliminate this choice. 14 is a composite number, so the second choice is eliminated. 21 is a composite number. 7 times 3 is 21, so 21 is not prime. So the only answer choice that is left is 2 times 3 times 7. Now, if we look at this, if we take 42 and we break it down using a factor tree, we would have 6 times 7. 7 is prime, so we can stop with that. And then 6 is 2 times 3. 2 and 3 are prime, so we get our prime factorization of 2 times 3 times 7. Those are a few examples of the types of emergent mathematics questions you'll see. How are you feeling about them? Let me know in the comments if you'd like to see more on this topic. For more practice, check out our Praxis Elementary Childhood Education 5025 playlist. And for even more detailed practice, strategies, and customizable study materials, head over to study.com and check out our Praxis Elementary Education Mathematics Test Prep course. Those who use study.com boast a 92% pass rate. Our courses include full-length exams, hundreds of authentic practice questions, and short, targeted video lessons. With our resources, you'll know exactly what to expect on test day. Like this video and subscribe to this channel to get all the latest practice test updates. And please leave your questions and success stories in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching, and happy studying.